Imagine this. You turn on the TV today, and the headline on every channel is this: "We detected artificial lights on another planet." Think about that for a second. For the first time in all of history, our most advanced telescopes would have captured something that defies logic. What appears to be controlled lights, made by someone, blinking on a planet light years away. The image you see is an artistic representation, of course, based on the data that would have been received. But the question it raises is the most real and profound one we can ask. The question that's worth the future of our species. Would we be looking at alien cities, or at a natural phenomenon so bizarre that it turns our science upside down? Our hypothetical story begins in a real star system about 52 light-years from us, called Gliese 777, and it has a curious connection to us. In 1999, humanity sent one of its first messages to the stars, the Cosmic Call 1. Although Gliese 777 wasn't on the main target list, the message was a gesture of hope, a cosmic hello launched into the darkness, to stars like it. Nobody really expected a response. But what if, by chance, someone was listening? In our scenario, decades later, an international consortium of astronomers is using a new generation of instruments to conduct a routine survey of the planets orbiting Gliese 777. Their focus is on a fictional rocky world, one we'll call Gliese 777 AC. It was supposed to be just another night measuring the small drop in brightness from the star each time the planet passed in front of it. But the data coming in isn't normal. There was something more, a subtle but persistent anomaly on the night side of the planet, a glow that simply shouldn't be there. The team's first reaction would be pure skepticism. Instrument error, for sure. They redo the calibrations, check the algorithms, process the data again and again. But the anomaly remains there. It's not noise. It's a signal, weak but clear, light coming from the darkness of a distant world. So what would make these lights so revolutionary? Why would the scientific community be in an uproar? The answer lies in the personality of the signal. It's not a diffuse and constant glow, like what would be expected from giant auroras or rivers of lava. The data would show points of light, concentrated in specific areas of the planet's dark side, almost as if they were clustered. And the strangest thing, the pattern. The lights wouldn't be constant. They would seem to pulse, becoming stronger and weaker in a cycle that doesn't match anything. Not the planet's rotation, not its orbit, not the star's brightness. It's a pattern that seems organized, too complex to be the work of chance. But the final blow would come from the analysis of the light itself. When astronomers decompose light from a star, they get a spectrum, which works like a chemical barcode. Natural light has a continuous spectrum. The light coming from our hypothetical planet would be different. It would have intense brightness peaks at very specific wavelengths. Peaks that, here on Earth, we directly associate with artificial lighting technologies. The fundamental signature would be that of light generated by technology. It's what scientists call a technosignature, proof that it's not nature that has the lights on. A discovery of this caliber would immediately divide the scientific community, starting the most important debate of our time. On one side, we'd have the optimists, those who believe in the technosignature. They would say that the simplest explanation is the most likely. We're seeing cities. The concentrated light patterns would be consistent with population centers. The intensity cycle of the lights could be the rhythm of a society, something like our work and rest cycle. For them, the coincidence of this happening in a system of the type to which we sent a message decades earlier would be too poetic to ignore. Their phrase would be, "They're not responding to the message. They're just leaving the lights on for us." On the other side, we'd have the rigorous skeptics who would remind us of the famous saying, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence." For them, Declaring the existence of alien cities would be a dangerous and hasty leap. They would point to very real examples here on Earth. Do you remember that giant bluish light spiral that appeared over the European sky and scared millions? It generated panic, theories of portals, and UFOs. The final explanation? Just a SpaceX rocket releasing frozen fuel, which glowed spectacularly in the sunlight. The skeptic's point would be, we saw a spiral cover a continent, and the explanation was space junk. Now we see some pixels blinking 52 light-years away, and we already want to build an embassy. They would also mention real and persistent mysteries, like the Hessdalen lights in Norway, which have appeared for decades without a final explanation. The argument is simple. Unexplained doesn't mean extraterrestrial. It might just mean our understanding of physics still has gaps. Their alternative hypothesis? Perhaps an exotic type of crystal in that planet's atmosphere that, when excited by its magnetic field, emits light in patterns that seem artificial. A perfect illusion of nature. But let's, for a moment, suspend skepticism. What if they're right? What if they really are cities? The implications are almost too big for our minds to process. Philosophically, the oldest question of all, are we alone, would have its answer, and it would be a resounding no. Our species, our history, our religions and cultures would be rewritten. We would stop being the protagonists of the universe to become just another neighbor in a cosmic neighborhood full of life. Scientifically, it would be the beginning of a new era. The goal would no longer be to find planets, but to map civilizations, understand how they use energy, maybe even decipher their societies from a distance. The search for life would shift from looking for microbes to looking for minds. And socially, the impact is unknown. Would we unite as a species in the face of such a vast reality? Or would fear of the unknown lead to panic? Questions that were always science fiction would suddenly be on the UN table. Would we be ready for that conversation? In a scenario like this, uncertainty doesn't generate paralysis, but rather a global race for answers. You can be sure that all the great observatories in the world, from the James Webb Space Telescope to radio antennas in the Atacama Desert, would stop everything to point in the direction of Gliese 777 AC. The objective would be 1. Get more data, more pixels, a clearer signal. Every photon of light arriving from that system would be analyzed with unprecedented precision. The original team would work day and night, trying to create computer simulations that could replicate those lights with natural phenomena. And, in our scenario, all simulations of auroras, volcanoes, or crystals would fail to reproduce the complexity of the signal. The only certainty would be that the search would become humanity's #1 priority. We would no longer be looking for a needle in a haystack. We would have found a thread. And all our science and hope would be pulling that thread to see what's at the other end. A small point of light, blinking in the immensity trillions of miles away, would become the most important object in the universe for us. It would hold the answer to the greatest question of our existence. The truth would be out there, hidden in the glow of Gliese 777 AC. And we would be here, ready to follow every step of this incredible journey. So now I ask you, if this news became real tomorrow, what would your intuition be? What would you believe these lights are? Alien cities? A bizarre natural phenomenon? Or something we can't even imagine? Leave your theory in the comments. The debate is just beginning.